Your Excellencies, honored guests, ministers, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5th Caspian Business Forum. I'm delighted to host you here today because it has become as a tradition when the UN General Assembly happens, we do the Caspian Business Forum, bringing together the minds from our region to focus on a region that's becoming increasingly important and critical for our global affairs. I'm glad to see that we had over 100 registrations for this event and happy to continue the momentum. First of all, I would like to take a moment to thank the many embassies present here and our friends in the US government for their support for this important event taking place on the margins of the United Nations General Assembly. I would like to also extend CPC's gratitude to our sponsor who made this evening possible, British Petroleum BP, who is an increasingly active and important player in the Caspian region, an important link between the Caspian region and the rest of the global economy. This is the 5th time that we at the Caspian Policy Center have hosted the Business Forum, and each year has brought it new trends underlining the importance of the South Caucasus, Central Asia, and Turkey to world markets and supply chains. In 2024, the need to build out international investment interaction with the Caspian region is apparent. Russia's invasion and war in Ukraine continues to show the necessity of building out middle corridor east-west transit connectivity. Current geoeconomic situation has further underscored the opportunities for energy security in the Caspian region that it provides now decades. Central Asia and the South Caucasus can become also major hub global suppliers of the critical minerals necessary to support industries of the future, from electric vehicles to green energy and personal appliances. Perhaps Assistant Secretary Jeff Pyatt, who is here with us today, will be touching this topic as well. Welcome, sir. This year has seen actors around the world recognize the facts that are changing in the region and build on their engagement with the region. Almost exactly a year ago, we reached a milestone with the first ever C5+1 meeting between Central Asian leaders, heads of states, and President Joe Biden and US officials and others have built on this momentum. International bodies continue to invest in the middle corridor, tapping into its potential. The United States, along with its G7 partners, have moved forward with the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, known as PGI, whose US Acting Special Coordinator, Helene Matza, is CPC proud to host today. PGI is becoming a major source of foreign investment into our region, announcing in June nearly $600 million in loans in Kazakhstan's national rail company, with more likely to come. Our colleagues in Europe are also moving to become better involved in the region. This year, European Union's Global Gateway Initiative announced an investment package of 10 billion euros for Central Asia, Trans-Caspian, primarily aimed at transit infrastructure. Also from our discussions in Brussels, we also heard that there will be additional $8 billion allocated for the region, which will bring this number to $18 billion. Throughout the last year, the Caspian region continued to demonstrate its ability to provide energy to the world, whether in the form of hydrocarbons or renewable energy. Kazakhstan's oil company, Kaztrans-Oil, announced in January 2023 that it will transport over 300,000 tons of oil to Germany, and by September, Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev reported that the country had already transported 500,000 metric tons of crude to Germany. Azerbaijan continues to work closely with Europe to reach its pledge of increasing supply to Europe to approximately 20 billion cubic meters per year by 2027. After adding 2 more European countries, Hungary and Serbia, to its list of recipients in 2023. I'm sure Deputy Minister maybe elaborate on this issue as well. On the green energy side, officials announced a new Georgia, Azerbaijan, Romania, Hungary joint venture on green energy this August, showing the Caucasus is ready to become a major supplier of green energy to the European Union. In March, the World Bank announced $2 billion in renewable energy investments for Central Asia. With Azerbaijan hosting the COP29 conference this November, it is clearer than ever that the green energy transition will be crucial for the Caspian region in the coming years. Exemplified by its investment in renewable energy, the Caspian region is now looking to the industries of the future. Following the C5+1 summit with the President Biden, the U.S. launched the U.S. Central Asia Critical Minerals Dialogue, positioning Central Asia to become a major source of these resources. Just this month, the U.S. also signed a memorandum of understanding with Uzbekistan on critical mineral cooperation. In the Caspian region, we are also seeing shifts toward trade and economic cooperation. The last year has seen agreement after agreement, visits by visits, between Caspian states seeking to make it easier to move goods across borders, establishing joint transit companies and joint investment programs. In last year, just to give you a number, which is interesting, how the inter-regional engagement have increased. We have seen about 17 heads of state level visits from the Caucasus to Central Asia, and about 16 similar visits from the Central Asia to the Caucasus. All these changes point to increased cooperation between countries within the Caspian region and a variety of lucrative business opportunities that were unimaginable only a few years ago. We at the Caspian Policy Center look forward to continuing to providing timely and critical insights on issues and events across the region. This year, we released major publications on the Middle Corridor, critical minerals, prospects for Central Asian uranium, and changing face of security situation in the region. And we are excited to bring our readers more in the coming months and years. Tonight, once again, it's our pleasure to bring key policymakers and business leaders together at our 5th Caspian Business Forum. I know I took a lot of time giving you details, data on the Caspian region, but now I'm concluding my speech, giving the floor to Ambassador Richard Hoagland to introduce our keynote speakers. Thank you so much. Welcome once again.
I know I came the long way instead of jumping up right here because I'm right there at that table, but I thought it'd be a little bit easier and I wouldn't fall on my face. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, welcome to the Caspian Policy Center program this evening. We are so proud to have you here. We're so proud to do this again. There's a whole lot you might want me to say, but I'm not going to say it tonight. What I want to do is simply give the time to our keynote speakers. And our very first keynote speaker is Ambassador Jeff Pyatt. Jeff Pyatt, I have 2 pages of CV here that I could read to you. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say he's a career member of the Foreign Service class of Career Minister, and he was sworn in as Assistant Secretary of State for Energy Resources on September 19, 2022. Ambassador Pyatt has been ambassador to Greece. He's been ambassador to Ukraine and probably has a lot to say about that if you talk to him in private. But there's a whole lot more I could say about my wonderful colleague here, but I'm simply going to say, Jeff, will you please come to the podium and say what you have to say tonight?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador Hoagland. Thank you, Dr. Nifty. It's great to be back here. Some of you may remember that exactly 2 years ago, literally my very first act as Assistant Secretary of State for Energy Resources was to speak to this audience. I was sworn in on a Monday morning, Monday afternoon. I was in the flight up to New York, and Monday evening, here I was at the Caspian Policy Forum. So this is now a little bit of a tradition. I'm especially pleased and honored to do so in this especially important year for your region. We have Deputy Minister Mammadov here. I pointed out to him as we were talking beforehand that I started my morning with IEA Director General Fatih Birol and COP29 President, Minister Babayev. An incredibly important moment for the international energy and climate community, but also an important opportunity for the Caspian region, and especially for Azerbaijan, a country which is both a major oil and gas producer, but also a country that has made a strong commitment to energy transition. I am also delighted to be speaking this evening with my friend Zofia Suleimanova. Zofia was also at our session this morning on methane abatement with the IEA, an incredibly impressive presentation about the work that the Kazakh government is doing to implement its signature of the Global Methane Pledge, and makes me very proud of the work that we have been doing together with your government over 2 years now. And then a special honor to be here also with Turkish Deputy Foreign Minister Barış Akıncı. I will do publicly here what I did privately this morning, which is to congratulate the Deputy Minister on her new role. It gives hope to all of us who are Foreign Ministry energy envoys that there is a route to greatness, and we couldn't be happier to have our Turkish allies led at the Foreign Ministry by such a distinguished career diplomat, but also somebody who knows the central importance of the work that Turkey has been doing on regional energy interconnections and energy security, but also the critical importance of the climate crisis and the opportunities it presents. I've got a very long speech, almost as long as the biography that Dick Hoagland graciously didn't read. I'm not going to read all of it, but I want to walk through a couple of the key points to me. First of all, as somebody who has worked around Central Asia for a big chunk of my career, traveled frequently to all of the capitals, I appreciate better than most American officials, I think, the unique vulnerability of the Caspian region to the effects of climate change, whether that be in terms of the impact of glacial melt and the dramatic vulnerability of countries like Kyrgyzstan to that crisis, or the impact of declining water levels in the Caspian. Yours is also a region that is directly impacted and has a front row seat on Russia's brutal and unprovoked invasion of Ukraine, and the incredible disruption that Russia's weaponization of its energy resources has caused to global energy security. Putin's weaponization of Russia's oil and gas resources has highlighted the risks to anyone who doubted it that come from allowing any one nation to monopolize energy supplies, and it has also made crystal clear to everyone, and I want to repeat everyone, that Russia is never again going to be viewed as a reliable energy supplier, and the United States, under my team's leadership, is determined to do everything that we can to reduce the revenues which Russia extracts from its energy resources, which are used to further a brutal and unprovoked and illegal invasion of a sovereign neighbor. All of our country's energy security, and therefore our national security, and our economic security, remain at risk until we end the dependence on Putin's Russia. And my job at the State Department can be defined by those two challenges: by the urgency of accelerating our work on energy transition to meet the moment of the climate crisis, while at the same time doing all that we can to work to build the energy security of our allies and partners around the world. In the Caspian region, energy diversification is integral to the region's aspiration to meet domestic and foreign energy demands, but also pursuing the development goals which we hold in common. We are very eager to do what we can as the United States to help your region build that energy security. Over 2 years now, I've been working directly with leadership at KMG and SOCAR, with the governments of Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan, on opportunities to diversify crude oil export routes. We're also continuing literally decades of work by the United States government on issues around Caspian gas supply. Caspian natural gas transported through the Southern Gas Corridor is already playing an absolutely critical role in ensuring the energy security of the European Union. And the United States believes that there is more that we can do in this space, including with support for the goal of a Trans-Caspian pipeline, something the United States has stood behind since 1995. Turkmenistan has already built its own pipeline network to the sea. I was delighted during last year's presidential C5+1 summit meeting to hear delegations talking about the continued relevance of that goal. As ambassador in Greece for 6 years, I was personally involved in the work we did as the United States to support the finalization of the Trans-Adriatic Pipeline, that crucial segment of the Southern Gas Corridor, which proved absolutely vital to European energy security after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. But simultaneously, we're working as hard as we can to support Central Asia's and the Caspian region's transition to clean, renewable energy sources. Ultimately, deploying much higher levels of renewable power across the region is the surest route to energy security. It's also a way to build sustainability, to build resilience, and to build economic opportunity. Obstacles remain. I'm acutely sensitive to the fact that the Caspian region and Central Asia have work still to do in terms of interconnections, both interconnections for gas, but also crucially for power. And especially in a world that's seeing the rapid acceleration of investment in clean power, building out the grid that is necessary to move power from one region to another during times of scarcity or abundance is absolutely central. We face exactly the same challenge here in the United States. Just before coming here today, I was at a Climate Week event with a number of our infrastructure and manufacturing companies, all of whom were making the same point about the challenges here in the United States, but this is an area where the U.S. has been engaged. We're excited to see what can be accomplished at COP29, the messaging opportunity that that provides, in particular in terms of enhanced trans-Caspian interconnections for clean hydrogen, for power, but then also opportunities to move that power to other markets even further afield. We're also vitally focused on the issue of reducing the emissions of the fossil energy that the world continues to use. This is an issue where the United States, now the world's largest oil and gas producer, has a considerable obligation ourselves. It's an issue that I was in Houston last week and then the week before that talking about with our companies. But we also see tremendous opportunity in the Caspian region. I am especially proud, having been personally engaged with the leaders of all the countries and with the ministers and some of the people in this room, that both Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and Turkmenistan have all subscribed to the Global Methane Pledge. As I said earlier, I was tremendously reassured by the messages that Sofia conveyed this morning in terms of the commitment of the Kazakh government. I'm very sorry Turkmenistan wasn't there for Director General Birol's event. And of course, very much appreciate as well the steps that in the leadership that Azerbaijan is showing on this issue in the run-up to COP29. I hope very much, and a lot of what we talked about this morning was the importance of building on the platform that UAE established at COP28 in terms of the Oil and Gas Decarbonization Alliance, in terms of the commitment to move towards the full abatement of fugitive gases and methane as fast as possible. I didn't get the opportunity this morning because we were running late, but I would point out in my own travels around the world, one of the things that I think UAE can be extremely proud of is how their leadership has helped to change the conversation. I had an energy dialogue recently with the Nigerian government, including the Nigerian oil minister, and I'll always remember that the CEO of the Nigerian LNG company just stood up in the discussion. He said, methane is money. We have to capture it. In the same way, we've been discussing with Iraq the work that can be done in that area as well. Overall, the best data I've seen is that over 12 billion cubic meters of natural gas is wasted every year across the Caspian region due to vented, leaked, and flared methane. Roughly the same amount of gas that was exported from the Caspian region to Europe last year. So there are tremendous, tremendous economies that can be taken advantage of. Capturing methane is also one of the cheapest and easiest ways to have an immediate impact on climate change because of the particularly damaging impact that methane emissions have over the short term, and because we know how to do this. And American companies are in a leading position to be partners with all the governments of the Caspian region to bring that to reality. I'm also very proud of the fact that my team at the State Department's Energy Bureau has been directly involved, including through our assistance programs, working with the government of Kazakhstan, working with the government of Turkmenistan, directly on technical assistance, including through our CLDP, to help governments of the region identify opportunities to address their methane emissions through private sector investment and the best available technology. I want to spend the last couple of minutes talking also about something Professor Nifty mentioned, which is the work that we are doing together on critical minerals and critical mineral supply chains. I was very pleased that at last year's C5+1 summit meeting, the leaders directed us to put together a C5+1 critical minerals working group. We've now had our first meeting. I was deeply impressed by the level of preparation that all of our partners in the region demonstrated in that conversation. Kazakhstan has assumed a particularly important leadership position, reflecting its decades of experience working with American energy companies. But there are obviously tremendous potentials as well to do more in some of the smaller countries of Central Asia that have a long tradition of work in the mining industries. And then the Caspian, and this really leads into my colleague Helena Matza and her work with PGI. If we manage to figure out how to extract these resources, we then have to figure out how to get them to global markets. And a big part of the work that my team is doing is focused on how to diversify against our dependence on China as the sole location of processing of so many of the minerals that we need to drive our energy transition: cobalt, lithium, nickel, zinc, copper, rare earths, all of which are overwhelmingly concentrated in one country. So we have a tremendous, tremendous opportunity leveraging Central Asia's geography, leveraging the demand side pressure that you're going to see coming from the countries that are moving to decarbonize their economy, and the simple reality that we have to figure out how to drive our supply chains to accelerate this transition if we're to meet the needs of the climate crisis and the opportunities ahead. I'm particularly pleased this evening that there are several governments represented in the room that have become part of the MSP Forum. The Mineral Security Partnership, and again, Helena can speak to this much better than I can because she was in at the ground floor. The Mineral Security Partnership is a coalition which now involves 14 countries plus the European Union, more than half of global GDP, dedicated to expanding the availability of key energy minerals, but doing so in a way that meets the highest global ESGs and in a way that delivers benefits for the producer countries. So we're particularly pleased to have a number of regional governments as new participants in the MSP Forum. I will participate on Thursday in a meeting of the MSP Forum where we will talk about how we work together to advance opportunities for the countries that have these key resources, and how we do so in a way that is equitable, sustainable, and meets the standards that our citizens would expect. I don't want to talk any longer because I really want to give time to my ministerial colleagues, but what I do want to leave with you is a sense of both the systematic focus that we are giving to the Caspian region, the particular spotlight that COP29 this year will provide, for better or worse, on everybody in Baku. And I know, talking to the minister, we all feel the pressure to deliver a successful COP29. I have said to Minister Babayev and others that the United States government, the Biden administration, is vitally interested in a successful COP. And part of that success will be the work that we will do together on the issues that I'm responsible for, around decarbonization, around methane abatement, and how to manage the fossil resources that the world is going to continue to use for decades to come in a way that's as sustainable as possible and in a way that meets the expectations of our citizens. So very pleased to be back here again. Thank you, Professor Nifty, for having me, and look forward to learning more this evening from the conversation. Thank you very much.
Ambassador, thank you so very much for that really full explanation of the background of what you've been doing. I have to say, although I did not read your multiple-page CV when I introduced you, we did meet each other too many years ago to count, probably, when I was in Islamabad and you were the Consul General in Lahore. Well, we're not going to count the number of years. Nevertheless, it's been a pleasure to have you as a partner and a strong diplomatic partner who's been understanding the region and doing things properly for a very long time. Thank you for that. Indeed, that's worthy of applause. And I now want to introduce our next keynote speaker. Our next keynote speaker is going to be Helena Matza. Helena has been the acting special coordinator for the Partnership on Global Infrastructure Investment at the U.S. Department of State. She's most recently served as the Director of Energy Transformation in the Bureau of Energy Resources at the Department of State. We have a very strong expert here who is now going to give us a few points from her point of view. Thank you so much. Welcome. Come to the stage, please.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, and thank you, Professor Nifty, as well, for having me here today. I'm going to take a cue from my former boss, Ambassador Pyatt, and cut my speech a little bit short as well, because I definitely want to hear the ministerial, but want to share a couple of remarks as this is my first time joining you all, and really delighted that the Caspian Policy Center put this together. So while Jeff really detailed out how the global transition in climate and energy, as well as the ramifications of Russia's illegal war against Ukraine, have impacted energy security within the Caspian region, we know the same could be said for other forms of connectivity and infrastructure. In recent decades, we are in the midst of not just only an unbelievable energy transition, but in a world where we're increasingly becoming more interdependent as rapid advances in technology bring our economies and societies closer together. While this evolution has certainly fostered exciting new opportunities and certainly unprecedented prosperity for some, we know that there has been exposure to unpredictability and vulnerability of our shared progress. And resilient and sustainable infrastructure is the key to maximizing the opportunity in a new era, while safeguarding us against the fragility and taking maximal advantage of the opportunities of an interconnected world. And while society has more advanced and diverse physical and digital connections to its regional and global neighbors, we've been able to thrive in a dynamic global economy that is better making us prepared to endure the next set of supply chain disruptions and different issues that we face all across the board. So in the Caspian, the need for this resiliency in transport, energy, and digital connectivity has only been amplified by what the last several years have looked like in the region. And with the restrictions and impacts on the northern trade corridor through Russia, partners across Central Asia and the southern Caucasus are looking towards alternative trade routes, including the Trans-Caspian or Middle Corridor. While still a fraction of the overall trade volumes through the northern route, the Trans-Caspian has seen cargo volumes of over 1 million tons at the beginning of 2023. That's nearly a 65% increase compared to what we saw in the same time in 2022. Now, that's still not as much, but certainly a really important moment and a discrete moment to be able to maximize the impact of investment so we can think through how we reap some of the broader economic benefits of increased connectivity within the region, but also with global markets. In particular, the countries of the Caspian region and Central Asia more broadly, we hope that together we can leverage this moment to build some of those linkages among your own domestic markets with some of these additional routes. And today we've seen a lot happen. We've seen governments and private partners across the Caspian region take initial steps to really invest in this vision. Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan have committed to develop a Trans-Caspian fiber optic cable. This will be the first digital cable in the Caspian Sea that provides the needed resiliency for data flows currently dependent on terrestrial cables through Russia. Also, as the largest U.S. investor in Uzbekistan, Air Products is looking to build on their existing $2.5 billion portfolio in the country, including hydrogen production facilities, and invest $10 billion over the next decade. But this really just needs to be the start. We need more than just a few discrete examples, and frankly, we know that we have a role to play. Last year, at the inaugural C5+1 Presidential Summit in September, President Biden announced, in addition to our critical minerals platform, an intent to utilize the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment to meet the needs and mobilize infrastructure investment, accelerate economic development, energy security, and overall physical and virtual connectivity across the corridor. So what is PGI, if you're not familiar? This is an initiative that was created by G7 leaders to provide multilateral, private sector-driven, sustainable, transparent options for emerging economies around the world, those that are seeking more infrastructure investment, and do so in a way that is practical and tangible, starting first with a top-line commitment to deploy $6 billion to mobilize that effort by 2027. We are actively working across different critical corridors, just like this one, as we're seeking to align our U.S. diplomacy ambitions and resources along the G7 and private sector. So we're bringing real commercial investments and supporting like-minded partners in delivering this resilient, sustainable infrastructure that we're all committed to. We focus on several sectors, and all of them have been part of the discussion within the region, whether that's clean energy supply chains, working with ICT networks, and building connective transport and logistics. And so I think the best way to kind of explain what we could do in the region is to share an illustrative example of what we've done already. And this has been the work that we've done with the Libido Corridor. And if I'm sounding a little hoarse, it's because I just came from an event that we hosted with Secretary Blinken and our foreign minister partners from Angola, Zambia, DRC, and Tanzania, as well as the funding partners of that corridor, which includes the US, the EU, the AFC, and the AFDB. And this partnership has been instrumental. First, a handful of investments in rail infrastructure, the largest clean energy project that we've ever deployed on the continent of Africa, and a new greenfield rail that we're doing to connect Zambia and Angola ultimately to Tanzania. What we've been able to do in bringing trade and transit routes down from 45 days to just 46 hours has created opportunities for all sorts of new local business to develop and flourish, whether that's new local food producers in Angola reaching now markets in the DRC, new investments in warehousing and siloing, and new logistics companies coming to bear. This work, this vision, and in fact, in that conversation, was just earlier today, was focusing on this is the model we want to replicate. And I should note, and I'm probably burying the punchline, that in just the last 18 months when we launched this corridor, we've mobilized $3 billion of our own financing across all of these projects, as well as another $1 billion from our other partners. And in fact, in a closed door session just now, we already committed another $1 billion going into the next tranche of funding. And these are real dollars. This is us using our DFC, our XM, our TDA to help provide loans, to help think through ways that we can develop real, meaningful investments with our private partners. And there's so much opportunity to bring some of this thinking here to this part of the world. So through President Biden's commitment to the C5, we're really eager to extend that model to the Trans-Caspian corridor, working in concert with our same partners, the Europeans, so we can continue to leverage our shared resources and drive investment in critical infrastructure. While we know these investment environments are completely different, we know that we're trying to solve for similar issues. Following my first visit to the region in July, we had consultations with government, private stakeholders, and my team is actively evaluating initial areas for investments. Those range from rail to ports, digital fiber, and different distribution centers all across the region. We're prepared to bring together that full U.S. government toolkit And the work that Jeff mentioned earlier about how we're looking at investment across these really important supply chains is a huge opportunity for the region that we hope is fully leveraged as we're thinking about the whole ecosystem of investment. We think that there's a lot we can do to complement the existing work that the U.S. government has been doing for a while, and we think continuing those efforts and doubling down on how we can tackle some of these trade barriers and take concrete action is really what we want to do moving forward. And so I'll just leave you with that call to action. We've had amazing conversations with partners in the region, and we're really looking forward to the ways that we can actually bring some tangible, discrete investments to this important agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for that background, for that history, so that we can understand how things work better in the region. I want to give the floor one more time to a colleague that I've been seeing for a number of years. And in fact, earlier today, this afternoon, I was sitting in the hotel, and a gentleman next to me looked over and said, "Do we know each other?" And we do. This is Ambassador Umar Aliyev, and I want to thank you so much for coming here today, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say today about the region and the resources in the region. Thank you, sir.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, first I would like to begin my expressing to my sincere gratitude to Caspian Policy Center for the invitation to the 5th annual Caspian Business Forum. I am confident that today's discussion will contribute significantly to strengthening collaboration with Turkic region. The organization of Turkic state, OTS, that serves as purpose-driven platform designed to implement concrete projects that foster socio-economic growth and generate greater benefit for its members. As a unique regional intergovernmental organization, OTS develops program and the project is in more than 30 areas, ranging from politics, economy, energy, and the transportation to tourism, education, environment, culture, sport, youth, and beyond. Although OTS is relatively young, soon to celebrate 15th anniversary since the establishment by the Nakhchivan Agreement on October 1st, the bonds between the Turkic state are deeply rooted in centuries of shared culture, tradition, languages. This historical connection forms the solid foundation on which our organization is built. Their participants strategically positioned at the crossroads east to west, north, and the south to south, the Turkic region with population around 107 million and covering 4.5 million square kilometers offers unparalleled opportunities for the enhancing mutual trade and the economic ties. In 2023, the total GDP of the OTS economies reached nearly $1.9 trillion, reflecting a substantial 18% growth compared to the previous year. Together, the Turkic states constitute the world's 12th largest economy and the third largest global energy provider. The total export of goods from the OTS countries has also shown significant growth over the year, specifically increased from $220 billion in 2015 to over $620 billion in 2023. This remarkable growth underscores the economic vitality of our region. Aligned with Turkic World Vision 2040 and the OTS 2022-2026 strategy, the OTS has established an extensive economic network through its ministers, ministries, agencies, and the institutions supported by numerous cooperation of mechanisms. We have launched our key financial institution, the Turkic Investment Fund, just establishing 2 years ago, developed a unified strategy for the trade facilitation, formed the Union of Turkic Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and organized multiple business forums, as well as working on concluding a free trade agreement in service and the investment among the OTS member states. Moreover, the Digital Economy Partnership Agreement has been finalized for boosting the e-commerce across of our region. We are also progressing toward establishing Council of Central Bank, national banks of the member of state of the OTS. These efforts are expected to significantly contribute to economic growth and the cross-border collaboration among Turkic nations. Distinguished participants, one of the most significant recent developments is the growing importance of Trans-Caspian International East-West Middle Corridor, also known as Middle Corridor, which passes through our member states. Thanks to efforts of our states, the Middle Corridor has begun yielding significant results, and thus the volume of freight transportation via this road has been increasing day by day. The Middle Corridor offers distance advantage. It is 2,000 kilometers shorter than the Northern Corridor, delivers goods from China to Europe 3 times faster than sea roads within 15 days, and they reduce railway transit times by 7-8 days. In this context, I would like to point out the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan railway project, the southern road of the Middle Corridor that emerged as cornerstone in the architecture of regional integration. Once operational, this railway line will reduce the distance from East Asia to the countries of the Middle East and the South Europe around 900 kilometers, and the volume of cargo transportation could be reached 12-15 million tons per year. According to the World Bank, infrastructure improvements along the Middle Corridor are projected to triple the volume of cargo transport by 2030, reaching 11 million tons. Our milestone achievements in our transport and the custom cooperation include agreements such as Simplified Custom Corridor and the International Combined Freight Transport. Additionally, we are currently working on digitalization freight process to projects like e-permit, eCMR, and the Digital Tree projects. We're working with UNICEF and the International Road Union, which will be streamline logistics and enhance cross-border trade efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, as the global focus shifts towards sustainable development, it is imperative that we too join forces to address the environment challenges facing our region. The Turkic states reaches in diverse ecosystem and they committed to fostering cooperative solution to the challenges. At the 2021 OTS Summit, our leaders adopted the Istanbul Declaration, reaffirming their commitment to goals set within the global climate agenda on the Paris Climate Agreement. In line with the objectives, the Drought Prevention Institute of the OTS was established in Hungary, and we have been advancing collaboration of energy diversification, and the green energy. During the fourth meeting of OTS Minister of Energy held earlier this month, it was agreed to establish a regional center for technology and the green initiatives to explore renewable energy resources across the Turkic states. By harnessing these resources, our member states aim to reduce the reliance on fossil fuels, cut greenhouse gas emissions, and the transition to a more sustainable energy system. To this end, we are in the process of adopting the conceptual documents titled Turkic Green Vision, Unity for a Sustainable Future, at the upcoming OTS Summit in Bishkek next month. This initiative aligns with the Paris Climate Agreement and the seeks to unite efforts to Turkic states in addressing climate change. As we approach COP29, the Global Climate Summit scheduled to take place in Brazil, Azerbaijan, next month, in November, OTS aims to develop and implement strategies that not only protect our environment, but also enhance our region's resilience to climate impacts. Additionally, we plan to hold the inaugural meeting of the Minister responsible for the environment and the ecology of OTS on the sidelines of the COP29. I believe that the decision and the proposal made in framework of the COP29 on sustainable development and the green future will be serve as guideline to create green Turkic world. In closing, I would like to thank the organizer once again and to extend my best wishes for productive and enhancing exchange ideas this evening. Thank you for your attention.
Ambassador, thank you so much for that tour of the horizon. I really appreciate that. I think I probably neglected to say when I introduced you that you are the Secretary General of the Organization of Turkic States. And that is something that is terribly important in the region as the region emerges as a built-up organization of itself. And that is something that we thank you for, and we thank you for your leadership. I would normally have finished at this point, but I have one more speaker that I would like to introduce because she has a terribly full schedule and she needs to talk to us right now so she can go on to the other things that are pulling her attention tonight. I don't mean to make that sound negative. I think it's very positive. And I would like to introduce to you the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Turkey, Barış Ekinci. Please, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure, to be here. And as stated, it's with great regret that I will have to leave you after my intervention, as I have been instructed to be in a meeting representing my minister. And I would like to thank very much Ambassador Pite for his kind words. And I'm, of course, it would have been a great pleasure for me to be able to stay here where I see such friendly faces. And I have to say that I was looking very much forward to participate, in this event that has become a regular one each year here in New York. So just a couple of words, and the Caspian region, has become the focus of many in relation to energy security, supply chains, and connectivity. Back at the end of the 90s, when I was posted to Baku, those were the years where we were working very hard on the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan, which some claimed those days as a dream pipeline, which today, after more than 2 decades, is operating in a very fruitful way. And I have to say that sometimes we are forgetting how of a strategic project it was, a political and a very strategic one, which also paved the way to other projects, to the Southern Gas Corridor, as a matter of fact. And so the focus on the Caspian has become even more apparent with Russia's war in Ukraine. While we are witnessing a strategic break between Europe and Russia on energy, increased interconnections and reverse flows are becoming all the more important. In this regard, Caspian sources are attracting more and more interest. Different projects are underway. There are talks of expansions of some existing pipelines and some new projects. Here, I will have to underline that the crucial point would be the coordination among various interlocutors, projects, in order to avoid overlaps and waste of funds. And when I say coordination will be important both at the governmental level, but also among the private stakeholders, between the governments and the private stakeholders as well, of course. Turkey has always been a reliable energy partner and has been actively contributing to the energy security of its region through the use of its extensive energy infrastructure. We have the experience in materializing mega-sized international energy projects, the ones such as I underlined, BTC, Southern Gas Corridor, TANAP being the backbone, the LNG infrastructure. We are operating through now 4 FSRUs and 2 LNG terminals, so it has become a very important component of our energy supply security, and also it is helping us to assist as well the regional countries. And of course, we have been operating in very close cooperation with Azerbaijan, and together we have been through a transformation in energy politics. As Turkey, we are committed to doing more to tap into the rich energy resources of the region and make it available to consumer markets, both in Turkey and the rest of Europe. And to this end, we are working very closely again with Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan and the regional countries, Kazakhstan as well, Georgia, of course, Georgia being a very important partner when it came to the BTC and as well as to the Southern Gas Corridor. So, and now with Turkmenistan, we are looking forward, of course, to bring, the Turkmen gas westward, to the Turkish market and as well as to the European markets. And there as well, it will contribute to the supply security, of Turkey and Europe, but as well as all those projects will contribute to the demand security of the Caspian region. There is an important window of opportunity that will benefit everyone. We need to seize this opportunity to bring the new volumes of gas to the market. At this point, I would also like to underline that the window of opportunity will not be eternal, and so we have to act quickly. As regards to the consumers, we remain committed to contributing to the energy security of the EU. Agreements signed with Bulgaria, Hungary, and Romania are examples of our engagement. As I stated, our LNG capacity has become the second biggest in Europe with 133 MCM per day, together with 4 FSRUs and 2 terminals. Meanwhile, we are also working with the region on clean energy, on the renewables. Transition to clean energy is another key item on our common agenda. Ensuring a transition to clean energy and striving to achieve our net zero targets are pillars on which we can build new ties and develop new projects. We need to make sure we have access to sufficient and diverse energy sources to sustain our economies and societies, while also at the same time ensure that we are on track to meet our climate targets and transition to cleaner energy resources. This has to be a joint effort. It can no longer be just governments or only the private sector. Governments and companies will have to respond in a way that will be only economically, socially, and environmentally responsible and sustainable. Renewables have the major role in this process and will to a great degree determine if and how we will meet our net zero targets. Turkey is the 5th biggest installed capacity in renewables in Europe and 12th in the world. 56% of our installed capacity is based on renewables. There is much expertise and experience to be shared with our partners. This is an asset to our region. Hydrogen will also be very important in the coming years in ensuring the change to cleaner energy. However, we have to jointly shoulder the burden to advance in research and develop new technologies. If we do not put enough effort, time, and finances to this research, there's a risk that in 10-15 year time, there will be new dependencies on technologies owned by others in this sector. So we need to be reaching and forward-looking in our planning of our energy policies. Given its strategic location, sustainable connectivity has long been priority for Turkey. We have been taking important steps with other countries to increase regional and interregional multimodal connectivity. In the last 20 years, we have completed big infrastructure projects in Turkey that facilitate transport, trade, and investment in our region and globally. Our strategy envisages an uninterrupted, high-quality, and safe transport connections between Asia and Europe. In view of recent developments, the Trans-Caspian East-West Middle Corridor, as it has been highlighted just a couple of minutes ago, the Middle Corridor proved to be a reliable route. Yet, the Middle Corridor has to be seen as one going through the Central Asian countries and through Turkey and reaching European markets. And in that respect, we have seen, in the last couple of months, the increased focus, from other international actors as well towards the Middle Corridor. EBRD has just, last year shared a report, on the Middle Corridor, highlighting its advantages as well as the challenges. And I believe that with close coordination and hard working, we can overcome those challenges. And in that respect, the US initiative of Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment as well can play a role in this regard. So we are ready to engage in all kinds of dialogue and cooperation on those issues. And we believe that all these attempts will contribute to the welfare to our region, the Caspian region. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Madam Deputy Minister. It was really important to add to what we're learning tonight. We have a number of other speakers to go tonight, but I am finished with my introductions, and I'm going to introduce my senior colleague from the Caspian Policy Center, Dr. Eric Rudenschild, who is going to introduce the next series of speakers that we have tonight. So Eric, I turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Eric Rudenschild, as Dick so eloquently pronounced. I'm Senior Fellow at the Caspian Policy Center. I'm the former U.S. National Security Council Director under both Presidents Trump and Biden. I'm pleased to be introducing this panel of eminent regional speakers who give their perspectives on what's taking place in this evolving Trans-Caspian region. I was first asked to set the stage with a few words about this region. Ladies and gentlemen, I can only say that we live in interesting times. There's a major land war in Europe. Russia is preoccupied. The sleeping giant that is the Caspian region has been awakened. The Central Asian republics are finding common ground, a common regional identity, and strength in unity. There is an active peace process in the Caucasus. There is massive improvements in connectivity between Georgia and Azerbaijan, across the Caucasus, across the Caspian, and into Central Asia. Increasing economic, political, and now security cooperation are becoming everyday events in the Caspian region. Many ideas that were unimaginable a short time ago are already a reality in this developing Trans-Caspian region. If you see the region the way it was 10 years ago, you will miss the boat. Now there are strengthening partnerships between the countries of Central Asia, with the Caucasus, with Turkey, and other neighbors. We see collaboration across multiple sectors and a growing commitment to regional as well as international development. Whereas before the war in Ukraine, this broader region was viewed as dependent on legacy infrastructure, pipelines, rail, even economic ties, largely dominated by Russia, I would add. That image is changing before our eyes. 3 to 5 years ago, the Middle Corridor was not a stable or dependable conduit for transit or trade westward. Not so now. Freight that took 42 days to transit from China to the Black Sea now takes 12. And this transit time is actually decreasing. Hard and soft infrastructure improvements are taking place again on a regular basis. Faster transit time means this corridor is increasingly competitive and cost-effective. These change forces have also had the effect of bringing countries together with the need to keep their economies going. The Central Asian Five have discovered that they are stronger together as 5 countries cooperating and partnering. Azerbaijan has reached across the Caspian for better cargo and energy cooperation and bridging to Turkey. In 2017, trade turnover between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan was $2 billion. Last month, the country's 2 presidents signed $4.4 billion in projects, $2.6 billion in trade contracts, and they are anticipating trade to be $10 billion in the near future annually. Uzbekistan's trade with the Central Asian states alone has increased threefold since 2016. There is now a single window cargo registry between Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and Georgia that has enabled a 14-time increase in container shipments from China this year. Port traffic in the Caspian has exploded in growth, prompting major investments and facility improvements. Rail lines are crowded. In fact, Kazakhstan and China closed recently a transit corridor in order to add another crossing because the existing ones are so crowded. This is a growing and organic set of developments that reward cooperation, which in turn encourages greater investment. Internationally, Olaf Scholz's recent summit in the region highlighted trade growth of 35% between Kazakhstan and Germany, while trade turnover between Central Asia countries and Germany increased by 27% in 23 alone. This cargo is crossing the Caspian in ever greater quantities, crossing Azerbaijan and Georgia on its way to Europe. Hopefully soon, Armenia will benefit as a crossroad of peace, and with a reconstituted rail line, will facilitate a more than doubling of freight capacity along the Middle Corridor. What took 5 hours in 2017 to clear customs now takes 30 minutes. Increased Caspian connectivity is a genie that has escaped the bottle and will never go back. What we see across the region now is the development of a common cultural space, regional identities, and regional innovation. Trans-Caspian countries are enjoying greater cooperation among themselves and with markets to the north, south, east, and west, returning this region to its former crossroads status. President Tokayev recently coined the phrase, "Successful Central Asia is successful Kazakhstan." I believe this is emblematic of the increasing partnership and attitudes we see in Central Asia and across the Caspian and in the Caucasus. For business, this means greater stability, security, and economic growth. These are interesting times indeed. And with that said, it is my great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs from Azerbaijan, Elnur Mamadov.
Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to address you today at the 5th Annual Caspian Business Forum, a platform that brings together key stakeholders to discuss the opportunities and challenges shaping the future of our region. This forum is particularly significant as Azerbaijan, as COP29 presidency, as was mentioned today a few times already, stands at a critical juncture in leading the global climate agenda. Azerbaijan has long been a bridge between East and West, strategically positioned at the heart of the evolving Middle Corridor that we've mentioned earlier, which links Europe and Asia. Historically a major energy supplier, we are now fully committed to the global energy transitioning, turning our focus towards sustainability and green growth. Our efforts are anchored in the development of green energy zones in Karabakh and East Zangezur, in Nakhchivan, in parts of Azerbaijan, which symbolize our national commitment to achieving net zero emissions by 2050. These zones serve as crucial hubs for integrating renewables into our broader energy mix, enhancing domestic resilience, while also contributing to Europe's energy security. Our partnerships with international energy firms such as BP, Aqua Power, and Masdar exemplify our balanced approach to energy. These collaborations combine the strength of both traditional and renewable energy sectors, with flagship projects like the 240 megawatt solar plant in Sangachal area in Azerbaijan, showcasing how we align our energy assets with green transition goals. One of the cornerstones of our strategy is the Caspian Black Sea European Green Energy Corridor, which will enable us to export 4 gigawatts of green electricity to Europe by 2030. This will not only reinforce our role as a key partner in Europe's energy security, but also help meet Europe's clean energy targets. While accelerating the transition to renewable energy, we recognize the vital role that natural gas plays in stabilizing energy markets during this period. Our expansion of gas supplies through initiatives like the Southern Gas Corridor that the Assistant Secretary has mentioned earlier, and this Solidarity Ring initiative, reaffirms our long-term commitment to regional and European energy security. As our President has emphasized, natural gas will be crucial in balancing energy demands while we continue our shift towards a low-carbon future. Beyond energy, Azerbaijan is spearheading several regional initiatives that align climate action with sustainable development in the Caspian Basin. These initiatives, launched under the framework of COP29, are designed to foster regional cooperation and innovation, and I will give you a few examples. The UN SPECA Climate and Innovation Dialogue and the UN SPECA Forum of Climate Smart Cities are platforms aimed at enhancing climate-smart solutions and fostering innovation across the region. The CAREC stands for Central Asia Regional Economic Cooperation Program. The CAREC Partnership for Climate, Innovation and Dialogue seeks to integrate climate resilience into regional policies, promoting collaboration on sustainable development. Within the framework of the Organization of Turkic States, as the Secretary General has just mentioned, Azerbaijan is leading initiatives such as the OTS Forum of Climate Resilient Villages, the OTS Partnership for Climate Innovation and Green Economy, and the OTS Partnership for Climate Smart Cities. These efforts will bring together stakeholders to advance climate-smart solutions, enhance green economy practices, and build resilient rural communities across the region. These partnerships not only address the climate crisis, but also contribute to the broader sustainable development agenda in the Caspian Basin, emphasizing the interconnection between climate action and economic growth. Despite our ambitious efforts, challenges of course persist. One of the key barriers remains the development of critical infrastructure. While Azerbaijan has made substantial investments, particularly in modernizing the middle corridor that we've heard earlier today. Realizing its full potential requires enhanced regional cooperation. Regulatory harmonization and the mobilization of infrastructure financing are essential to advancing these large-scale projects. Another challenge is the need for green financing to support the development of large-scale renewable projects. Significant financial resources are required to bridge the gap between ambition and action. COP29 will be a pivotal moment to address this gap by fostering public-private partnerships and advancing innovative financing mechanisms. Through initiatives like the Baku Initiative for Climate Finance, Investment and Trade, we aim to promote investments in green projects across the region. As COP29 president, Azerbaijan is determined to lead the way in advancing international cooperation on climate action. Initiatives that I have just mentioned, Big Fit, demonstrate our commitment to integrating climate finance, investment, and trade into a cohesive strategy for accelerating the green energy transition and building resilience across sectors. Additionally, we're focused on expanding energy storage and enhancing grid capacity, both critical components in stabilizing renewable energy supplies and ensuring a reliable transition. Moreover, Azerbaijan remains dedicated to methane emission reductions as part of our broader commitment to the global methane pledge. This aligns with our national ambition to mitigate non-CO2 emissions and reduce our carbon footprint. In conclusion, Azerbaijan is ready to lead the global community at COP29, building on our legacy as a key energy provider while embracing the future of sustainable development. Our commitment to connectivity, energy security, and climate resilience will not only benefit our region, but contribute to a global transition toward a greener and hopefully more sustainable world. I'm always told that I should stop speaking before people stop listening. So I think it's the right time to stop. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker, the first Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Georgia, Lasha Darsalia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure and privilege to participate in today's forum. I would like to express my profound appreciation to our hosts for the opportunity to engage in discussions related to regional connectivity, trade, environment, and climate concerns. Over the years, Georgia has proved to be a reliable partner with a favorable business environment, strong institutional setup, and credible economic policy making. Despite geopolitical tensions and challenging external environment, Georgian economy has demonstrated resilience and progress in every field of the economy. Due to prudent economic policies and ongoing reforms, Georgia has overcome external shocks successfully, showing impressive double-digit economic growth in 21-22. Strong economic growth trajectory with 7.5% growth rate was sustained in 2023, and we saw a notable growth at 9.7% in the first half of 2024 as well. Today, Georgia stands out as a prime investment destination, offering a unique combination of low costs and minimized risks, supported by an exceptional business climate. Georgia's openness to foreign investment is well reflected in the OECD's FDI Regulatory Restrictiveness Index, ranking Georgia on the 8th place as one of the least restrictive environments for foreign investors. Strategic location at the crossroad of Europe and Asia has enabled Georgia to play a key role in facilitating regional connectivity, while access to the Black Sea provided an additional advantage to Georgia's transit opportunities. Being a credible transit partner, Georgia offers efficient distribution channels and ample opportunities to enter global markets through newly expanded transport and energy infrastructure. To facilitate greater energy and transport connectivity across the Eurasian continent, Georgia, together with partner countries, has been developing major regional transit routes. In particular, Georgia has been a key link in delivering Caspian hydrocarbon resources to Turkey and Europe.
A vivid example of successful regional cooperation is delivering hydrocarbon resources via the West Route export pipeline, Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan oil and Baku-Tbilisi-Erzurum gas pipelines, and Southern gas corridor. In this process, the role of the United States has always been enabling and crucial. Georgia has always been participating in already operational transport corridors, such as Traseka and Middle Corridor. Russia's unprovoked full-scale military aggression against Ukraine has created supply disruptions and urgent need for addressing connectivity and energy security challenges. In particular, the need for exploring alternative transit routes bypassing Russia has remarkably increased the significance of the Middle Corridor, a secure multimodal transit route for cargo transportation from China to Europe and vice versa, reducing shipment period from 35 to 15 days and shortening distance by 7,000 kilometers. We are convinced that in the coming years, the role of the Middle Corridor will increase even more due to outstanding characteristics as a safe and reliable route for freighter transportation. It is one of the shortest to connect east with west, having a competitive edge in providing access to Turkish market as well as Central and Southeastern European markets and bearing a potential to extend to Far East and West. Most importantly, the corridor enables route diversification via Turkey or Georgia's Black Sea ports. Whereas investing heavily in corridor infrastructure by corridor participant countries shall guarantee the adequate capacity for the years to come. Likewise, the new energy security challenges in the EU caused by Russia's invasion in Ukraine prompted its member states to seek new or additional secure hydrocarbon sources. Providing increased volumes of Caspian hydrocarbons to the EU through Southern gas corridor via Georgia is among the most effective and immediate to reduce Europe's dependence on Russia's energy resources. The Central Asian countries are eager to supply their oil and gas resources via our corridor, but enhanced political focus and support as well as additional capital investments are needed to fully harness the energy and connectivity potential of our region. Additionally, Georgia reaffirms its willingness to cooperate on developing other important energy transit projects, including Trans-Caspian pipeline and LNG-related projects. Based on our common interest and shared vision on global security issues, we are committed to further strengthen the regional connectivity with those countries interested in sustained energy and transport security of the Caspian Sea and Black Sea regions. Willing to create effective supply chains and competitive transit routes, Georgia is ready to actively participate in securing uninterrupted flow of Caspian hydrocarbons and goods from Central Asian states to the European market via transit corridors passing Georgia. This coordinated functioning of transit routes and providing sufficient transit capacities for the years ahead are crucial. Georgia invests heavily to develop and modernize country's transport and energy infrastructure, consistent with international standards. Among recent success stories are Baku-Tbilisi-Kars Railway, an indispensable part of wider Europe-Asia transport corridor. Further, already operational multimodal terminal in Batumi Seaport for resetting mineral fertilizers from Central Asian countries and Passe terminal in Poti Seaport, intended to serve large vessels, represent an exemplary partnership with the U.S. companies. In this regard, the United States has constantly been among Georgia's top direct investor countries. On our way to increasing transit potential, construction of an additional multimodal terminal in Poti Seaport is also planned by 2024 by Kazakh PTC Holding and Georgian partners. In addition, during the last decade, Anaklia Deep Sea Port remains a top priority project for the government of Georgia in order to increase Georgia's competitiveness as a maritime state. Similarly, we attach particular importance to development of ferry feeder services on the Black Sea to contribute to Euro-Asia connectivity. While developing regional transit routes, upgrading and digitalizing the country's transport infrastructure, we are substantially increasing the throughput of transport corridors, reducing shipping distance and time. By reducing the time needed for transportation, we also reduce the amount of fuel used by vehicles and consequently the volume of emitted carbon dioxide, thus positively contributing to mitigation or even overcoming a climate change effect. Likewise, we are devoted to becoming a regional leader in green electricity production, offering different support schemes to investors. Further, since green hydrogen as a clean energy source is gaining its momentum, we are ready to work with interested stakeholders to study the possibility of hydrogen power in Georgia, develop production and the means of transportation, identify the spheres of its usage. We are also keen to support the expansion of green electricity supply chains to the European market. In this regard, laying a Black Sea submarine cable is an initiative of strategic importance which promises an increase in green electricity transit and back-to-back trade opportunities with the European Union. As the project feasibility study prepared in July this year by Italian company CSI states, the project is both promising and technically and economically feasible. To support next steps in preparation of the project, in May 24, the World Bank's Board of Executive Directors approved the 35 million for the first phase of the Enhancing Energy Security through Power Interconnection and Renewable Energy Aspire program for Georgia. Black Sea Underwater Digital Internet Cable is another initiative of strategic importance. It goes hand in hand with the government's plans to develop digital corridor and data centers which could serve as a regional hub for the South Caucasus and gateway of the EU and Asia. The flagship initiatives such as the Black Sea Submarine Electricity Cable and Fiber Optic Cable, the Black Sea Ferry Feeder services can become a game changer in the area of connectivity, and we are resolved to accelerate implementation of these initiatives. To conclude, once again, I would like to emphasize our commitment for mutually beneficial cooperation with partner states to ensure the fastest, cost-effective and reliable transit routes for delivering cargo across the Eurasian continent and securing uninterrupted flow of Caspian hydrocarbons to the EU, which we believe is crucial for sustainable growth and security of our shared regions. Thank you very much.
And our final speaker in this panel, the advisor to the President of Kazakhstan and the Special Representative of the President on International Environmental Cooperation, Zulfiya Suleimanova.
Dear friends, excellencies, distinguished participants, I would like to extend my appreciation to Mr. Evgan Nifty and Ambassador Hoagland for organizing this timely event. In the face of shifting geopolitical dynamics, our region stands more united and stronger than ever, which was shared by everyone who is speaking before me. As President Tokayev recently affirmed, the ongoing efforts toward regional rapprochement focused on securing long-term stability and prosperity have now become both consistent and irreversible. This shared vision rests on the understanding that long-term development and progress can only flourish in an environment of peace and stability, values that Kazakhstan has long championed. As the largest economy in the region, Kazakhstan serves as a beacon of stability, bolstered by ongoing democratic and socio-economic reforms. This strengthens our own growth while fostering positive outcomes across the wider region. Looking ahead, we have ambitious plans to double our GDP by 2029, and this national strategy aligns closely with our goals for sustainable development and enhanced connectivity. It is in our collective interest to ensure that our region remains not a battleground for competing powers, but a strategic land bridge for fostering constructive engagement. This vision aligns with Kazakhstan's role as a facilitator in the peace talks between Azerbaijan and Armenia, demonstrating our commitment to regional stability. The Trans-Caspian or Middle Corridor stands as the most sustainable route with a strong geo-economic rationale serving as a critical link between our region and the collective West. A strategic value cannot be overlooked. in just 7 months of 2024, cargo volume through the route surged by 1.6 times to 2.56 million tons, marking a remarkable 63% increase over last year. Kazakhstan is making significant investments in developing transit and export capacity. To boost regional trade from $11 billion to $15 billion, we're modernizing 11,000 kilometers of railways and building an additional 5,000 kilometers of new lines by 2030. By 2025, we also plan to lay a fiber optic communication line across the Caspian seabed, crucial for our digital infrastructure and international connectivity. Uncovering the full potential of this corridor requires substantial support, and here we look to our partners, including the United States, to play a more active role in this endeavor. It is essential to focus on capacity building projects to reduce bottlenecks and inefficiencies, particularly through instruments like the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment. Joint infrastructure projects supported by USDFC, USTDA, and Exim Bank present mutually beneficial opportunities that align with the national interest of all parties involved. And here I'd like to actually add a little bit for myself. Many people were speaking today about importance of the energy transition, about clean energy, and that we have to be really transitioning away from fossil fuels and tripling renewable energy, doubling energy efficiency, as we agreed in UAE consensus. But actually, when I speak about the energy efficiency, I really have to say, energy transition, I really have to say a very quite an unpopular opinion. I guess energy transition is not about renewable energy. Energy transition is actually about improving the quality of life of people, providing them the access to better opportunities in their lives, creating better life for them. That is what the energy transition is about. It is about improving the environment in which they live, improving their health, improving their job opportunities, because when I am asked as environmental envoy, Zulfiya, when are you going to decommission your coal-fired power plants or coal mines? I say, well, the question is, do I have better job opportunities for people who are employed in these coal mines or in these coal-fired power plants? It's not about phasing them out. It is about thinking about people. That is one thing. It is about the jobs. But also when we speak about these jobs, we say, okay, renewables provide more jobs. It's not about quantity, it is about quality. Are they equivalently paid jobs? We really have to think about these things. And creating the programs and the projects and frameworks, the cooperation frameworks that can support countries in the energy transition endeavors is extremely important. And with that, our president has mentioned last year that Kazakhstan will be interested to launch the Just Energy Transition Partnership. It's not only about the energy transition, it is about just transition. It is about thinking and putting people before everything else. And this is what our president has said, and this is something that Kazakhstan is very passionate about. We have the political will, we have the ownership, and we have a strong interest in doing so. And we really hope that we will find good partners in the United States, among our other partners, G7 countries, IFIs, and so on. We seek from our partners a realistic and pragmatic strategy that encourages the further diversification of trade routes, driving broader progress. Consistency in applying this across the region is crucial, as diversification benefits everyone. Limiting access to key routes should not become a barrier to this shared goal. Connectivity is far more than just transportation and transit. It unlocks access to new markets and stronger supply chains. At its core, connectivity fuels economic growth and open doors to opportunities that go well beyond mere movement. And here again, we spoke a lot about critical energy transition minerals. It just happened that this month we completed a work in United Nations Secretary General's panel on critical energy transition minerals, where I had the pleasure of being a member alongside with our US and other partners. And we were discussing a lot the value chains and justice and human rights and environmental safeguards. And I really hope that when we are speaking about importance of extracting and creating the sustainable value chains and for the critical energy transition minerals, we also really think about what it is that we are leaving to the local communities, to the local environment, and so on. So these are some of the elephants which are in the room, but we very often do not mention, but I really would like to flag that because this is very important for Kazakhstan. We, as a country who is producing, who is the upstream country for some of the critical energy minerals, of course, we would like to make sure that the value is going to the local communities and is really supporting and creating better opportunities. And this is something that our president keeps talking about. We expect that initiatives launched during the C5+1 summit, such as the Critical Minerals Dialogue and the B5+1 Forum, will translate into tangible projects that enhance the diversification and resilience of global trade routes. These must be backed by financing and robust support, particularly for US businesses in the region. Additionally, it is essential to address the long overdue issue of establishing permanent normal trade relations between Kazakhstan and the United States. Now is the time to lift the outdated Jackson-Vanik Amendment, a move that would ultimately benefit American businesses and further strengthen bilateral ties. A path to sustainable development is intertwined with the climate agenda. Through regional cooperation and partnerships with global leaders like the United States, we can achieve resilient and sustainable progress. Last year, our president has announced that Kazakhstan will be joining Global Methane Pledge during COP28. And we actually made a joint statement with the United States on accelerating methane mitigation in line with the Paris Agreement and our national carbon neutrality strategy by 2060. At the moment, we are working very actively on putting together and implementing concrete projects. Kazakhstan is one of the countries who can be proud with some of the results that we have achieved. In the last decade, Kazakhstan is the only country who has reduced the volume of gas flaring and flaring intensity by 70%. This is huge. And we have done that through our regulations, through employing very strong environmental and other safeguards. And we believe that this is not the end of the journey, and we can do more. At the moment, we believe that for the methane, the biggest problem for Kazakhstan is not flaring, but it is venting, and we think that we can really find good cost-effective solutions to reduce methane emissions from venting. We're looking into the projects and opportunities to reduce coal mine methane, and we're now already working and engaging with some of the partners to really look into concrete projects to utilize the methane into to produce heat and electricity and so on. At this stage, we look forward to implementing projects targeting key emitting sectors of our national economy with US partners. We are committed to showcasing progress under GMP before the upcoming COP29 in Baku, and hopefully beyond. We will continue working in this area. We firmly believe that private sector involvement should be the key component to jointly curb methane emissions. In particular, we expect Chevron and ExxonMobil to be the icebreakers in this field. But here I would like to say that our own national companies are not sitting back and doing nothing. I would like to say that our own national oil and gas company, Kazmunaygaz, and our gas company, Kazakgas, both joined OGMP 2.0. They're at the moment working on leak detection and repair. We are working on inspecting our gas infrastructure on leaks, and we want to deploy a very comprehensive program on making sure that we don't really have much leaks and that we avoid any methane emissions from this area. I would like to also mention one topic which our president keeps talking about, which is water. This year, as you know, Kazakhstan became a chairman in the International Fund for Saving the RLC. The RLC, I was at the RLC. I'm not sure how many of you have been to the RLC. I've been there several times. I've been in 2021, I went to the Barsakilmes Island, which used to be the island, but now it's not island anymore. This year I went to the Kokoral Dam again, to the RLC, and we have done a lot of things. We put a lot of efforts to making sure that we can preserve this sea and we can leave it to the future generations. And when I say that, when I say about the future generations, it is very, very special to me, because in my country, in Kazakhstan, I'm still considered youth. So, and on behalf of youth, I just really try to champion this topic. And as a chairman of the International Fund for Saving the RLC, of course, we would like to really bring the water-related topics to the very top of our agenda and of the global agenda. And with that, last year during COP28, our president, jointly with President of France, Emmanuel Macron, jointly announced that they will be doing One Water Summit. One Water Summit is not a process to compete with the UN Water Conference and UN process. It is a summit of hope. It is something where we would like to talk about solutions and what we can do to address the water-related challenges. I really have to mention this another issue. The environmental situation in the Caspian Sea is another great challenge, where we face shallowing and increased mortality rates of a unique mammal, the Caspian seal, and pollution. Saving the Caspian Sea should be a priority for long-term international cooperation. All stakeholders, including from private sector, should play their fair share to improve the conditions of this unique regional water reservoir. Kazakhstan has done at least several things in this respect. Our president has announced that Kazakhstan would be looking into establishing a marine protected area in its own portion of the Caspian Sea. We're now working on establishing a think tank on research of the Caspian Sea, because we believe that we need to know more about this sea to make better decisions on this. And I really hope that the Caspian littoral states will support us in this endeavor, and that we can really strengthen our cooperation, including scientific exchange, and to better understand, and especially to save the Caspian seals, the mammals. They're really nice, and I hope that next year in spring, in April, I would be able to go to the islands and to really observe them. To further build momentum in climate action in Central Asia, President Tokayev also initiated convening a regional climate summit in Kazakhstan in 2026 under the UN auspices, which we are very actively working on. Although ongoing geopolitical volatility makes it challenging to stay focused on the climate agenda, Kazakhstan remains fully committed to decarbonizing and building green economy, because it's not only about being green and being fashionable and fancy and so on. It is really about socially responsible as well. However, to do it at the necessary speed, cooperation, access to long-term affordable climate and transition funding, especially transition funding, as well as access to technologies would be crucial. We hope to build closer ties with the United States and other partners on this. Thank you very much for your attention.
Good evening, everyone. And yes, we need to be sustained in our sustainable connectivity and investment panel. So please have some coffee and dessert and enjoy this last segment of our forum. It is an honor to moderate this distinguished panel. And for all of you excellencies and distinguished guests, I hope you will take some time to think of questions while they're speaking. There have been many mentions of the World Bank. I was working at the World Bank for almost 30 years, so I can tell you an inside secret. No one report comes out without a big fight inside. So there's always the infrastructure group who says, build it first, and then the business will come. Then the business and economists say, no, we need our business people first, and they'll create demand, and then income will come in the finance. But then there's that broader group that says, as we just heard from the special representative of the president of Kazakhstan, Suleimanov, we have to think about people. And that's where the sustainability comes in, where we're finding that sweet spot in the Venn diagram between society, environment, and the economy, where we can all have a better life as a result. And that's what our panel is going to talk about. I wanted to repeat the phrase that was told by the Azerbaijani deputy minister, Mr. Mamadov, when he talked about the Baku COP29 goals that was to enhance ambition and to enable action, and I think that that's what our speakers today are going to talk about. I'm going to give a brief introduction for each one, and then we'll take them in turn. I think Mr. Mamadov is going to be missing because he had to catch a plane, and we're very sorry that Mr. Bobshir also is unable to attend because he's unwell. So let me first start with Ms. Anjali Kaur, who is the Deputy Assistant Administrator for the Bureau for Asia, which includes the Caucasus and Central Asia. And I want to focus mainly on, she's a very dedicated development expert, and I think can give us a cross-cutting overview of the events in the area. I do want to say that because she has done so many partnerships and resource mobilization, that she holds the key to a lot of unlocking this connectivity and investment. Then we're going to have Dr. Atale Ziadov, who is the Director General of the Baku International Sea Trade Port and has been in that position since 2014. He's done some tremendous accomplishments, getting the Eco Port certificate in 2019. We have to Mr. Mamadov. Very good. But you have to speak first, is my understanding. So I will just very quickly introduce you. You are the chairman of the Management Board for the Small and Medium Business Development Agency of Azerbaijan. You've also worked in industry and energy and economy, all of which is very supportive of this goal. And then our final speaker is going to be Mr. Gabidullah Aspankulov, who is the chairman of the investment committee of the Kazakh Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who has a tremendous amount to report to us on the accomplishments of the country for investment. So, Mr. Mamadov, if you want to begin, please. Thank you. And may I just say that we're going to hear some success stories, but I also hear some, hopefully some cautionary tales where we can do better in making progress. Okay?
Dear participants, esteemed friends, hope you are doing well. I want to greet you all on behalf of SME Agency of Azerbaijan. And I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the Caspian Policy Center for this invitation, especially to my friend Afghan. It's a pleasure to attend this venue in this very busy week, once again after several years. Today's discussion encompasses a wide range of important topics, as we know, and as someone directly involved with the SME sector, I will focus especially on SME sector in the broader context of logistics and investment. As you know, dear friends, Azerbaijan continues to offer a highly favorable business and investment environment. The country's strategic geographical position, combined with its access to major trade routes, a young and dynamic workforce, rich natural resources, and proximity to large regional markets, makes it an attractive destination for both local and international investors. According to the latest report from International Monetary Fund, Azerbaijan has been recognized as one of the top 7 most attractive countries for investment globally. In our country, as in most other countries, SMEs form the backbone of the economy, comprising over 99.6% of all businesses registered in Azerbaijan. These enterprises are important in both local and foreign investment, often starting as small ventures and later evolving into large companies or multinational corporations. Recognizing the importance of SMEs, Azerbaijan has been applying successful reforms to develop this sector in advance. Since 2018, our agency, COBIA, has implemented a number of support mechanisms to development local SME sector. To better serve the needs of the sector, new institutional and legal models have been introduced in our country. One key development is the adoption of the law on development of SME sector, which provides a comprehensive legal framework for SME development and support for their growth. Our agency's commitment to enhancing SME operation is evident through establishment one of the major institutes called SME houses. These centers provide a wide array of services in a one-stop shop format, facilitating government to business and business to business interaction. Additionally, those investing in Azerbaijan can receive an investment promotion certificate that offers tax and custom benefits for a period of 7 years. One of the standout achievements of COBIA is the international recognition of our SME house model. The OECD selected SME houses as one of the leading innovative practices in the public sector. This model has been showcased on the OECD's website as an example practice, providing a strong endorsement of Azerbaijan's forward-thinking approach to SME support. Of course, the liberation of the Karabakh region, a historically significant part of Azerbaijan, that was under Armenian occupation for nearly 30 years period, also has created new opportunities for economic growth and investment. The reconstruction and the redevelopment efforts in Karabakh have not only revitalized the region, but also attract a great deal of interest from both local and foreign investors. The government has introduced a comprehensive package of incentives, increasing the region's appeal to investors. One of the major sectors with significant influence on investments, of course, is logistics sector. I think our friend Talez Yadov will also contribute more about this sector. And in today's rapidly globalizing world, logistics and trade play a critical role in economic growth, of course, helping to increase FDI in key sectors. Studies show that a well-developed transport and logistics system can boost GDP by up to 3%. Given Azerbaijan's strategic location, the country's role as a logistic and transit hub is becoming increasingly important. This is especially true in light of global geopolitical change in the world. The transport and logistics sector is undergoing a significant transformation with sustainability, cost efficiency, digitization, and fierce competition driving these changes. Companies, of course, that fail to adapt to these shifts risk failing behind in the market. One of the most pressing challenges facing the logistic and investment sectors is, of course, green transformation. Sustainability is no longer optional. It's an essential part of staying competitive in today's business environment. Many companies are now, of course, adopting sustainability goals and offering eco-friendly products and services to meet the demand of consumers and regulatory bodies alike. At COBIA, we have made green transformation a key pillar of our strategic agenda. Recently, our agency joined UN Global Compact, committing to align our strategies and activities with the Sustainable Development Goals. As you know, we will host COP29 conference this November. As a part of this, COBIA has launched a global initiative aimed at enhancing the role of SMEs in the green economy and addressing climate issues. The initiative focuses on increasing access to knowledge, first of all, developing skills, and expanding financial resources for SMEs to support their green transition. We invite all stakeholders to join this coalition and contribute to these efforts. Thank you very much again for giving me speech, and I think we will benefit from today's event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mammadov, and you touched beautifully on the 3 points in that Venn diagram I'm talking about, is that the society and the business, energy and environment. So appreciate very much the overview you gave us, and that you could make it, since I know your time is short. Next speaker is Ms. Kaur.
Great, thank you, Marcia. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I want to thank Afghan for creating a platform for us again here to have this conversation, and I'm grateful that we get to pick off where we left off. I know Assistant Secretary Pyatt talked about being on this panel or in this conversation 2 years in a row. This is the 3rd year for me, so it's great to be back. And as we think about what this region means from a perspective of USAID, I really think about how we connect both the notion of regional connectivity and energy to what's happening in climate. And as we gear up and have Azerbaijan host COP29, there's never been a better time for us to discuss how to better future-proof our efforts. And that's really equipping the region to weather the effects of climate change and systemic shocks. And at USAID, we're working on transformative actions to help our partners gain access to efficient energy technologies, reduce energy costs, build resilience to climate impacts, and lower greenhouse gas emissions. And Central Asia truly has an advantage here. And so the region's topography and climate hold enormous clean energy potential, from hydropower in the Kyrgyz Republic and Tajikistan to wind and solar in Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. Central Asia has the opportunity to drive the future of clean, renewable energy in Asia. And so USAID, what we do is we play a convening role in the region to encourage our partners to leverage one another's strengths. And in Kazakhstan, we're mobilizing the collective strength of the private sector by supporting renewable energy auctions that have drawn in more than $2 billion of investments from developers. So these auctions resulted in about 60 new renewable energy projects that will then reduce Kazakhstan's carbon dioxide emissions by 11 million tons, which is the equivalent of taking 2 million cars off the road for one entire year. And at the same time, we're helping Central Asian countries establish a Central Asia regional electricity market. Some of you may know this as CARM. And the idea behind this is to increase energy trade and security across the region, making access to power more reliable and accessible across Central Asia. And this is no small feat. In places like the Morgab district in Tajikistan, for example, we can see how life-changing new energy connections can be. This is a community that had previously not been connected to the national power grid. But after USAID helped install the country's first solar power plant, thousands of citizens now have access to reliable, safe, and affordable clean energy. In a region at high elevation with inhospitable conditions, access to energy means access to transformative resources such as heat, telecom, and light at night. So the region needs a thriving energy market in order to sustain this momentum. And that's why we return to this theme, exploring viable linkages within the Trans-Caspian corridor. And so since 2021, we've invested over $24 million to help harmonize customs and border procedures within the region, facilitate public-private dialogues on trade and investment, build relationships between firms across borders, and support improvements to this corridor. For example, our Trade Central Asia activity introduced an initiative that helped Central Asian firms build brand awareness, receive international certifications, standards, and participate in international trade shows. The activity has helped springboard 20 new Central Asian brands and 50 Central Asian small and medium-sized enterprises. They have now been able to secure groundbreaking $84 million in export deals with buyers in the Middle East, Europe, the US, and Southeast Asia. So we've been more ambitious with our hopes for the future, and moving forward, we're going to continue to work with the Central Asian governments to increase trade efficiencies by digitizing and modernizing border and customs operations, building out so-called hard infrastructure, we've been able to think about how to offer technical assistance to donors and investors to help reduce institutional barriers to entry, building local capacity, and project planning. And so these are a few of the things that we've been prioritizing that we feel like are game-changing. And this comes together with relevant assessments, feasibility studies, advisory services, and the key to this work will be effective and well-coordinated partnerships with the private sector. Unfortunately, our hope is that the international investors might view, ultimately, it's that they might view Central Asia as a unified market that is well-connected internally and externally, allowing the region to attract greater foreign direct investment. And as the region continues to connect its people to resources and grow its economic potential, we need now more than ever to safeguard the natural resources that support the millions of livelihoods. And the retreating glaciers, erratic rainfall, rapid evaporation, and shifting weather patterns associated with climate change truly threaten the stability that we're speaking of. And it threatens the endurance and the availability of these crucial water resources. In the Aral Sea region, as we just heard about, we're planting black saxaul seedlings to create oases that will protect livelihoods threatened by the sea's rapid evaporation. And so in response to retreating glaciers and changing snowfall patterns, we have been at the forefront of harnessing technology to safeguard water security. There's a new technology, some of you may be aware of this. I saw it and I was very impressed. It's called ModSnow. And so what this tool is designed to do is to empower governments and communities to monitor water flows originating from high mountains. And so this innovative solution is a result of more than 10 years of partnership, and it's truly helping regional leaders track the rates of not only snow melt, but glacial melt and rainfall. And the tool now measures in meters per day, equipping leaders to make decisions informed by real-time data. And the newest iteration leverages the latest in satellite imaging, data analytics, and remote sensing technologies. And so this is really to provide insights into water availability, quality, and seasonal trends, but in real time, right? So as climate shocks accelerate at an alarming pace, we're going to need to deepen and expand our cooperation in order to keep pace. And so we will continue to expand our role as a convener in the region and invite each of you to utilize us as a resource in this respect. Thanks, Marcia.
Listening to you, Anjali, just re-inspires me for my past passion working in development. That was fabulous. That was just fabulous. And keep going on CARIM, the Central Asia Regional Electricity Market. You know, the only other comment I'll make is that everything that you said we have to put against population growth. This is one of the few regions in the world that's growing rapidly, and these electricity shortages and water shortages are very seriously constraining. So thank you for your work. All right, now we're going to come back to infrastructure and come to our report. Mr. Ziadol, please.
It's a pleasure to be back in the States, in New York, first time at this event, although I've participated in CPC's previous events elsewhere. I think today the discussants or speakers have highlighted lots of issues. The most important one is obviously revitalization of the region as a whole in the new 21st century. So what we are seeing or are going to see in the next decade is probably a vital region, economically, socio-economically, coming back in much united form, forming an important economic space with its resources, and along with it, there will be competition. Yes, it was the first time when President Biden met C5 countries in September of last year. But if you look at the trajectory, it was preceded by the Chinese president meeting C5 in May and succeeded by Emmanuel Macron's meeting with them in November. So that means this region is growing in importance, and it will continue to do so. But there will be obviously lots of competition for its resources and which way that resource is going to flow. The most important part, of course, that we have started seeing, especially in the after war in Ukraine and Suez Canal problems, the importance of logistics. So today there were some references to Middle Corridor. Middle Corridor is an important one, but to make it sustainable one, it has to differentiate itself from other corridors. If it wasn't for Ukraine war, today the Middle Corridor would have been not even an alternative. It would have been just a supplementary corridor to existing a dominant corridor that was to be a northern corridor. And if it would, for the southern corridor to open, the relevance of it would have been less. So, in my opinion, for the middle corridor to become sustainable, it has to transform itself into a green corridor. And what I mean with, in a way, Port of Baku has started this journey long ago. We are the first green eco port in the region, certified by European Ports Association. We work very closely with the European Union since 2016. I think this initiative is very important. All regional ports should acquire eco port certification. All regional railways should switch to green sources of supply. For Kazakhstan, it's going to be slightly much more difficult because obviously the territory of Kazakhstan is much larger, but they can also opt for hydrogen locomotives, for example, in the future. And once this transition is done, you will technically have a green corridor connecting all the way China to Europe. And any container that is being delivered on a green corridor will have extra financial incentives in Europe. As you know, from 2026, there will be some financial implications for the supply chain that is linked to European Union. So to make it, all this sounds good, but there are lots of challenges ahead. The time of delivery of cargo has been reduced, yes, but there is still lots of things to do. And the most important part is because this corridor has to be multi-intermodal, it has to pass through a number of countries. The governments and the companies that operate along this corridor should synchronize their policies, institutional mechanisms, customs, and most importantly, their digital platforms. Everybody is introducing digital, solutions, but when you talk to Kazakhstan, they have their own solution. When you talk to Azerbaijan, they have their own solution. Georgians have their own, Uzbeks, they have, this has to be somehow brought up to a single, at least, I don't think there will be one platform, but at least the standards for the usage of the corridor should be unified. Even if you have multiple platforms, digital platforms, they have to be integrated and seamlessly used so that the container that leaves either Central Asia or China, we in Baku or in Georgia or in Turkey or in Europe, we would already get that information in advance and utilize for the benefit of the users. I will stop on this. Thank you.
Those excellent remarks brought to mind the comments of the Kazakh ambassador to London, who spoke at a conference we did this summer, who said that the middle corridor is not to a place, it's to the future. And to do that, it has to be not just, as we like to think of it, as sustainable in a green sense, but sustainable politically. And that, I think, epitomizes the point you just made, that there has to be this common will, political will, among the countries of the region to make this integration work. Thank you for those remarks. So now the country that I just cited, Kazakhstan, you're in the center of a lot of investment. Tell us about it.
Thank you very much. As we face growing challenges related to energy, scarcity, and supply chain unpredictability, the Caspian region is emerging as a key player in ensuring the global economy's resilience to external shocks. Unlocking the full potential of the greater Caspian region is crucial to addressing pressing global challenges, particularly in food, water, and energy security. Kazakhstan, the 9th largest country by land in the world, aspires to play a leading role in global transit networks, leveraging its position as a transcontinental bridge between Europe and Asia. In this context, I would like to emphasize that the United States remains Kazakhstan's top partner in trade and foreign direct investments. Kazakhstan has set ambitious goals targeting to double its GDP. To achieve this, we aim for an annual economic growth rate of 6-7%. We recognize the challenges ahead and are committed to upgrading our transportation and transit infrastructure to stay competitive in global trade. The long-term success of major companies like Chevron and ExxonMobil, which have been operating in Kazakhstan for over 30 years, serves as a strong example. Kazakhstan stands at a turning point, shifting its investment strategy from resource seeking to efficiency seeking. We are focused on building new source of competitiveness through innovation, digital infrastructure, fintech, and RID. As the fastest growing economy in Central Asia, Kazakhstan remains committed to its multi-vector foreign policy, maintaining balanced and productive relationships with global partners, including the United States. I firmly believe that the U.S. Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment with Kazakhstan will open new avenues for inclusive economic growth, resilient trade, and deeper relationship integration. Moreover, the growing global demand for critical minerals presents another area of opportunity. Kazakhstan ranks among the top 20 nations in reserves of chrome, zinc, lead, copper, gold, titanium, and other critical minerals. Over half of the critical materials listed in the European Union are already produced in Kazakhstan, demonstrating our competitive advantage in the global market. Kazakhstan recognized the vast potential for deepening its relationship with the United States and attracting more investments. We see this significant opportunity for U.S. investors to engage with Kazakhstan's growing economy. Thank you.
Thank you. We've reached, I think, the end of our time, and wanted to thank all of you for your patience, but I also have to put our speakers on the spot for 30 seconds. Give me your #1 recommendation to overcome barriers to faster progress. I'm going to put you on the spot first, Anjali, because you had such a rich discussion. What would you put your finger on #1?
I would say the first one is economic diversification. I think we lean too heavily on traditional commodities across Central Asia, and what do we do to be able to truly diversify, become a more inclusive economy, and think about all of the types of avenues that we could be building out workforce across the country. I think about it promoting investments in sectors beyond traditional, sustaining economic growth through ways that are sustainable to a number of external shocks. You can't do that if you rely traditionally on just those pieces. Can I give you two other ideas that I think would be helpful? Improving the business enabling environment, which goes hand in hand with this, and this is really about recommending the implementation of reforms. And this is not just in Central Asia, but we see this in a number of countries that are trying to change the economic growth trajectory, right? And it's really about thinking about this favorable business environment, and these are some of the things that USA does, which is efforts to enhance alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, improving the rule of law, thinking about cultivating a business-friendly environment for private sector reform issues. But there's a lot more work that needs to be done there.
I think I'm going to give you that was a good headline, but good for USAID for handling all of those. Thank you. Mr. Aspankulov, just 30 seconds for your top recommendation. What do you need most?
First of all, we are facing challenges regarding shortage of infrastructure, so we need to work on it. And as my neighbor said, that the most important thing, we need to work together to tackle problems and seeking solutions for the challenges. In terms of even digitalization, we need to be on the same lane and on the same standards, so it will help to other customers.
So economic diversification, business development, digital standards, and you get the last word?
And a common vision for the future. That's the most important part, because it has to be shared by all participants. We should understand where we are headed in 2050, where we want to be. And of course, if that future is sustainable, green, diversified, economically well-connected to the world market, with very strong participation of private sector, that should be shared and equally supported by all states. And I hope they will do.
Terrific. Thank you. Welcome to the new Central Asia Caucasus region. All these leaders. Thank you so much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Marcia, Dr. Olive, thank you so much for your leadership on that. We really appreciated those comments. Ladies and gentlemen, it's getting late in the evening. I was told that I'm supposed to give the closing remarks here. I don't have a prepared speech because I don't think you want one more prepared speech tonight. What I would like to do, though, is say that I think it's extremely important that we have met together one more time here in New York City to emphasize that the Caspian region, both sides of the Caspian Sea, meaning the South Caucasus, 3 countries, and the Central Asian 5 countries, are becoming much, much more important as a focus for the world leaders. This is something that Kazakhstan first put together when they said that it's important to balance all of the leaders of the major powers of the world, whether it's the United States, the European Union, Russia, or China. And Russia and China are moving to the extent that they can, given their problems right now. There's so much that's going on, and history continues. The one thing that I want to do tonight to close us out and say enormous thank you to those of you who have stayed with us for the entire evening is a special thank you, a special notice to our founder and chief executive officer, Efkan Nifty. I want to say thank you to you, sir, for what you have created. It's something that's never existed before, and we thank you for this. It's important to the rest of the world. So a round of applause, please, for Mr. Nifty. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for coming tonight. Thank you for staying with us. And it's now time to go on to the rest of the evening or to go home and go to bed. It's your choice. Thank you so much.